Good morning, everyone, and how are y'all doing today? It is a wonderful morning. We are all wide awake, been up all night. Fury, I know you're lurking out there, so let me just go ahead and say good morning to you now. Oh, and yes, it has been another all-nighter for me. I literally got, oh, about 2.5 hours of sleep yesterday afternoon when I finally was able to get some. And I've effectively been up since about 8 o'clock last night after being up at 3 o'clock yesterday morning. So got up at 3. I fell asleep on the couch finally about 5:30-ish, 6 o'clock. And I was awake by 8. And I have not been able to fall back asleep since. A little chilly there. Yeah, well, it's a little chilly here, but only because the wife had the ceiling fan going last night, and I just turned that ceiling fan off to ease up on the chill coming on me right now. So I don't know how long or good of a stream this is going to be today because we all know what I'm like when I'm been this long without any sleep. So, um, but I do want to got a good story I want to start off with here today. Okay, because this makes me happy. Remember last week, the Democrats all over the place berating the Republicans for how dare those evil Republicans tell the Washington D.C., the District of Columbia, how to rule their town. The people of the town made a vote, and by God, the Republicans, how dare they want to overturn the rulings, even though it's in the Constitution. It's a constitutional act. It's a constitutional responsibility of the legislature. But how evil them evil Republicans are for violating the will of the people of Washington, D.C. Well, the Senate votes to overturn the D.C. criminal code changes. Son of a gun. The Senate cleared a disapproval resolution Wednesday to block a District of Columbia bill that would have overhauled the criminal code, sending it to President Joe Biden's desk. The measure passed overwhelmingly by a vote of 81-14, with 33 senators who caucus with the Democrats supporting the Republican-led measure. Biden has said he will sign it, which would make it the first such resolution regarding the district to take effect in more than 30 years. Remember, it was pure evil. It was, that it was taxation without representation. It was, hey Sean, how you doing? It was, the rights of the people to have a say in their own government being overturned by these legislatures who aren't even from DC. They're from all over the country. How dare these people who, you know, tell the people of DC they can't have what they want. Just 14 members who caucus with the Democrats voted against the measure, including Democratic Whip Durbin Raphael. Senator Raphael voted present. Oh, Durbin voted present? Interesting. Or did Durbin vote against it and Raphael voted present? That doesn't matter. Democrats joined the Republicans in saying, no, we are not going to allow DC to reduce the crimes, the punishment for crimes. The punishment for crimes, The resolution, which passed the House last month with bipartisan support, would overturn the D.C. Council's recent bill, which would have revamped the local criminal code. The bill would have reduced certain criminal penalties in D.C. and expanded the right to a jury trial for misdemeanor cases, among other changes. Yeah, every crime would have been, there'd been not just some, but almost every crime would have been had the criminal punishments reduced. Okay. Under the District Columbia Home Rule Act of 1973, Congress has no. Under the Constitution, Congress has the final say. All that District of Columbia Home Rule Act of 73 did was say the DC Council could have a say. The DC, they created the DC Council. The move has divided Democrats and led to criticism of Biden, who initially released a statement opposing the Republican-led disapproval resolution, but later, after it passed the House, tweeted he would sign it if passed. In other words, some Democrats got to Biden and said, "Hey, yeah, we need to override this bill. This bill is going to get us in trouble." Some Senate Democrats said Wednesday ahead of the planned vote that they intended to vote in favor of the resolution, given the measure, which can pass the chamber with a simple majority well above the number of votes needed. Mark Warner from Virginia voted for the resolution, said he worried the DC crime bill sends the wrong signal for crimes including carjacking, one of the offenses for which the bill would have lowered the maximum penalty. I've got hundreds of thousands of Virginians who go to work in D.C. every day. Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin. Damn, why is my page jumping so much? An original co-sponsor on a separate Senate legislation, which would have made D.C. a state, said she supported the resolution against the D.C. crime bill while she still supports D.C. statehood. There's no more important issue than safety. That's whether it's my staff members who live and work in the district or constituents who come to visit. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer voted in favor of the resolution. Warren voted against it because said she voted against it because it would have brought the DC code in line with the middle of most states, red and blue. But even more importantly, DC citizens should be accorded the same right to pick their elected representatives and have those representatives determine criminal laws. No, they don't have the same rights. They don't. And if you want them to have the same rights, Warren, then do this. Cede back the property that these residents live in back to the individual states. Cede it back. Cede it back to Virginia, to Maryland, these other states. Cede it back to them. Say, hey, these properties right here, which are federal properties, this is all we're responsible for. Everything else goes back to the states. All the other properties go back to the states. All the Constitution says is it shouldn't exceed 10 square miles. So you can make it a bunch smaller. Just what is needed for the federal buildings. The problem you would have, though, is you would have no place to expand. So, yeah, and then, of course, all these houses that your people own there in the D.C. area would be taxed by the individual states. And the people, the senators and the House members who live in these fancy apartment buildings would be taxed by those individual states. So, yeah, you've got a problem there. But what can I say? That's that's an issue that you guys have decided that you wanted to have. And I'm not going to worry about you. You want it, you got it. Republicans saw advantage in the division among the Democrats. Led by the president, the Democrats are in full retreat on the D.C. criminal law issue. Now, get that other bill up there, the one that allows illegals and other non-citizens to vote in D.C. Let's get that bill overturned also. Make no mistake, Democrats remain pro-criminal and anti-law enforcement. This is some serious Monday morning quarterbacking from the party that knows its soft on crime policies have led to losses in the past 2 election cycles. Pete Aguilar of California said the House Democrats voted against D.C. crime bill resolution out of respect for D.C.'s home rule, but he lamented that Biden had not more clearly communicated his position on the measure. In other words, damn it, Biden, why the hell did you backtrack? Because then we would have, if we'd known that you were going to support this, then we would have supported it too. But now you've made us look like fools because we thought you had our back. We thought you had our back there, Biden, and that you're going to stand with us for the D.C. home rule front. Yeah, I think a bunch of people got up there and talked to him about, hey, if one of our people get hijacked or something, carjacked, do we really want it to be soft on crime? But it is what it is. Eleanor Norton Holmes Norton. I thought it was Norton Holmes. DC's non-voting representative in the House called on Biden and Congress to keep your hands off DC and said a move to nullify the DC bill is undemocratic. None of the 535 members of Congress were elected by DC residents. Well, duh, no joke, because DC is not a state and was never meant to be a state. And everybody who moved into DC should have known that. You sort of figure out these kind of things when you buy property or move into an area, where you're going to vote. All right. None of them are accountable to D.C. residents. Yet, if they vote in favor of the disapproval resolution, they are choosing to substitute their policy judgments for the judgment of the D.C. elected leaders. Norton also urged her House colleagues last month to vote against a resolution to scrap the crime bill. But ultimately, 31 Democrats joined the Republicans to pass that resolution, while 42 Democrats voted in favor of a second resolution to nullify D.C. bill that would let non-citizen residents to vote in local elections. Yeah, not when they say non-citizens, substitute illegals, and Chinese spies. Because guess what? Chinese spies live in D.C. So, according to Norton's office, only 3 disapproval resolutions against D.C. bills have ever been enacted: 79, 81, and 91. Well, now add 2023 to it. And soft on crime. Come on, Democrats. I'm glad to see it. All right, let's just be simple. And in fact, okay, this soft on crime nonsense hasn't worked. I don't know what the answer is to this crime that we've got going on. Part of it is what goes on in our schools. Part of it, the fact that our schools have gotten so lax. Our schools are so anti-punishment. The movie Lean on Me. That's perfect what happens with schools when you've got lack of control of them, and what happens when you get somebody in there with a strict hand. Now, we've got issues in these schools. So, anyhow, we got work to do. But anyway, Mitch McConnell's in the hospital. He fell last night at a hotel, and he tripped at a local hotel during a private dinner. He's been admitted to a hospital where he's receiving treatment. Nothing new has been released as of this morning, so we've got let the old turtle. Well, hey Neil, how you doing today? Let the turtle know that you want him back. Come on, Mitch McConnell, you need to retire. You're 81. All right, go home and spend your last decade or so relaxing. All right. Let's see here. This was a story I wanted to talk about yesterday. And this one here is my lurking and working, Neil. Yep, believe me, I understand that. Done that a lot of times. This is a story I wanted to talk about yesterday, but I screwed up, and well, I just screwed up. But anyhow, dun 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 dun. 5 women denied abortions sued Texas in landmark Post Roe case. They were denied abortions. So these women could not get abortions, huh? I mean, but according to the title here of the news article, this is the headline: 5 women denied abortions. There's only one of them looks like she's pregnant. That one may be pregnant, or she just may be chubby chaser, a little bit on the chubby side. Okay, but that's only the one here in white, you know. So anyway, 5 women have filed a lawsuit against Texas over the state's near total abortion ban in the first case of its kind since the Supreme Court overturned Roe last year. The women said the Republican-led state's abortion law has denied them. The law has denied them and countless other pregnant women proper obstetrics health care and placed their lives in danger. The suit, first reported by the New York Times, is the first to be brought on behalf of women denied abortions against the state that enacted new abortion ban after the Dobbs decision. Texas's abortion ban has abortion ban. I mean, are we getting this? Are we getting the tone of this article yet? Has stoked fears among physicians of losing their licenses, being fined, and possibly facing civil and criminal charges for performing life-saving obstetrics care. Whatever care. According to the suit filed in Travis County District Court, the women say, has created a hush-hush code within the medical community that prevented them from accessing urgent care when they needed it most. All right, so now there's the headline. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 5th paragraph, all 5 women should have qualified for abortion under the law's exception, lead attorney Molly Duane said. They should have qualified. They would have qualified. They qualified for abortions under the laws. All right. We invite the court to help us craft a remedy to make sure the harms we are seeing every day in Texas and the country do not continue to happen. It is now dangerous to be pregnant in Texas. No one should be forced away at death's door to receive health care. These women represent only the tip of the iceberg. All right, so 5. Now 6, 7, 8. The 9th paragraph down. As a result of the ban, 4 of the women were forced to travel to other states to get emergency abortions, the lawsuit states. The 5th, lead plaintiff Amanda Zarowski could not have the abortion despite her fetus having no chance of surviving, was only allowed to deliver after she became septic, leaving her permanently physical damage. So let's see here. Let's go. Let's see. That was 9. Okay, yeah. 9. So that's the 9th one. 10th, talking about her pregnancy, diagnosed with incompetent cervix. Okay. A weakening of the cervical tissue, yada, yada, yada. All right. She underwent a year and a half of fertility treatments and was only allowed to deliver baby Willow after she developed sepsis. The lawsuit states Willow died after birth. We were told by multiple doctors that the loss of my daughter was inevitable, even though I lost all my amniotic fluid, something an unborn child cannot survive. After delivery, court records state she spent 3 days in the ICU while doctors treated the infection. I cannot accurately put in words of trauma or despair. For days I was locked up. Okay. According to other women, how is it I can get an abortion for a dog, but not for me? All right. Laura Miller said that she had no option but to fly with her husband to Colorado to undergo fetal reduction abortion to save the life of one of her twins at 15 weeks. One of the twins was diagnosed with trisomy 18, a condition with a high percentage of miscarriage or stillbirths. Okay. I was lucky, out-of-state connections, lawsuit, We're going on and on and on here. All right. The lawsuit comes as drugstore chains. We're talking about Walgreens again. Remember yesterday, Walgreens has said they're going to stop selling this one particular drug in 20 states. Well, one of them is Texas. Okay. So go on and on. Democrat the recent lawsuits. We'll keep going on and on and on. All of these women could have gotten abortions in Texas. They just couldn't find a doctor willing to perform one. There were exceptions for everyone. They told you that way back here in paragraph 5. They should have qualified for an abortion. But the problem was they did qualify. The problem was none of them could find a doctor. The Texas law did not prevent them from getting an abortion. It was their doctors didn't want to perform one. They couldn't find a doctor willing to do it. It's not the state's fault. The state cannot force a doctor to perform an abortion. But, we all know how this goes here. The state is going to, these newspaper articles, they're going to sit there and they are going to absolutely mess things up one way or another. Spin them the worst possible light to get public opinion. Just like they really played up the DC issue. They're not telling you, they don't tell you half the story. They just give you 1 or 2 lines there buried about the truth of the matter. Okay. Now to the lead story from this morning. AOC. AOC is being sued for this second time. Now, remember, AOC has been sued for blocking people on Twitter. This was the first lawsuit here. Former New York State Assemblyman Dove Hyken and Joseph Saladino have both filed. They both filed a lawsuit. So this actually be the third one here. Her third lawsuit, saying that thanks to the Cranstein brothers and the lawsuit they filed against Donald Trump, AOC should not be able to block people on Twitter. No politician should be able to block anybody on Twitter. That's been settled in the courts once. Donald Trump had to unblock everybody. AOC should be no different. Well, these guys, they won their cases. And she had to unblock them, and she apologized for it. You would think she would have learned her lesson, but nah, she didn't. Remember that guy that a couple months back, AOC's come walking up the steps of the Capitol building, and he talking about her wonderful booty and how much he loved her booty, and she comes, he calls out to her, and she comes walking towards him with this big old smile on his face until he mentions her booty, and then she turns around and walks away, and then she gets in and says that she filed a complaint, and the guards wouldn't do anything about it. Well, the guy's out on the Capitol steps. He's outside. He's not inside. She's away from him. What are they supposed to do? He didn't lay a hand on her. Well, a political provocateur is now suing AOC for blocking him on Twitter after he heckled her outside the U.S. Capitol, shouting crude remarks, calling her bootylicious, or my big booty Latina, calling the New York Democrat his favorite big booty Latina. Comedian Alex Stein yelled to the lawmaker he loved her as she entered the building on July 13th. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look very beautiful in that dress. You look sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Ooh, I love it. Hot, 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 like a tamale. By the way, is that not about the ugliest Batman statue you've ever seen? Stein's lawsuit cites a federal appeals court decision that ruled against then President Donald Trump, saying he violated the constitutional rights of several people by blocking them from following him on Twitter. The appeals court said Trump was acting in his official capacity when he blocked those people. Just days after that ruling in 2019, Ocasio-Cortez apologized to and settled a case with former Brooklyn Assemblyman Dov Hikind, who sued her for blocking him on her AOC Twitter account in response to critical replies to her tweets. He lifted the block and said that the First Amendment gave him his rights and views, But see, now, here's where there's going to be a twist. Hikind and this other guy were constituents. They both lived in her district. This guy Stein doesn't. He does not live in her district. So she is not his representative. So the courts they just may draw that fine line and say, yeah, she can't block anybody who lives in her district, but she can block people who live outside the district. Okay. Because remember, technically, she does not represent me here in Florida. She doesn't represent anybody who lives in Hawaii or California. She doesn't even represent people who live in most of New York. She only represents a very small area of New York. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so the judge may draw a fine line there and say, well, since you're not her constituent, she can block you. Or he may say, no, she is an elected federal federal representative, and she can't block anybody in the country. If she was state legislator, then she could block people who lived outside the state. So it's going to be interesting to see which of these three lines this judge draws. That she can block anybody who lives outside of her district, and then that would mean uh, or that she can block anybody who lives outside of the state, or she can't block anybody. So this is going to be fun to see how this line gets drawn here by the judges, and it's going to end up in an appeals court. I can almost guarantee it. Oh, I mean, there's always a way people can. I'm sorry about being mute for so long. I was coughing and making other noises nobody needed to hear. Now, I was making noises you guys didn't need to hear in there, Nil. I'm sorry about that. As far as where people live, it all depends, and how they know. Is it in their Twitter bio? Is it? Did they mention it somewhere? Could they do a deep dive in somebody's Twitter feeds and look for where they've said where they live or what they've done? Mention that they're voting for so and so, or voting against so and so, or they voting for a certain state bill. So yeah, I mean, there's always a way to find out where somebody lives, because no matter who you are, you're going to let it slip somewhere in your. No matter where you live, you're going to let slip somewhere, give an indication, you know, that you. I mean, even it is, thank God I don't live in New York. Well, right there, you've said you don't live in New York, therefore you can't be one of her constituents. So, yeah, it would be possible to figure out if whether or not you person lived in the state or not, or were constituent. Um, anyway, um, okay, let's see here. In 2021, the U.S. Supreme Court erased the second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruling that Trump had violated First Amendment rights of people he had blocked. Uh, while serving in the White House, Supreme Court ordered the appeals court to dismiss the case as moot because Trump was by then a private citizen. The High Court's order meant the Second Circuit's ruling could no longer be used as a precedent for similar cases of elected officials blocking Twitter followers. AOC's legislative district lies within the Second Circuit. Stein's case could also be seen as being different, involving Trump and AOC, because his block was issued due to statements he made in person, not on an online account. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter that was, that, First Amendment doesn't depend on whether you say them in person or online. Your First Amendment is your First Amendment. AOC. Now, see, AOC actually lied about this, because, as you can see by this picture, man, she was all happy to see him, and he was making these comments about her booty at this time. You know, she was going over to, she wasn't going over to deck him. She was going over to get that selfie and get that internet fame. So, Mr. That we go on and on about this. The reference to her support for abortion rights is, when he talked about her body, it was satire. When he talked about her abortion rights, that was political. You can't, you don't, you can't block somebody just because they're mean about what you said, just because you don't like what they said. You can't, as an elected official, you can't do it. So I still going to be curious to see how the courts rule on this. Like I said, I see it going one of three ways, depending on how finely they want to cut it. So, oh, come on. I didn't want that. Okay. Story number 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Y'all know how I feel about unions. And if you don't, I'll let you know right now. For the most part, most unions, I think, are a waste of time. All they are is a way of fattening people's pockets and hurting the working man. At one time, unions were necessary and a good thing. But like anything that has outlived its usefulness, and I will say this again, all right, anybody whose paycheck is drawn from the taxpayer's purse, they work for the government in any way, shape, and or form, should not be allowed to unionize. That goes from the dog catcher to the police department to hospitals, firemen, paramedics, road construction. Mac Daddy, she didn't just didn't screw over Amazon. She screwed over the people of New York. She cost them a lot of jobs. But the only people that should be allowed to unionize are people in private sector. Public sector people who draw their paychecks from tax dollars. You can't become a member of the union. It's that simple. you get $1 of your paycheck is taxpayer dollar, you can't join the union. The U.S. Senate is getting its first union. Staff working for Senator Ed Markey, Democrat of Massachusetts, requested to be voluntarily recognized as a union in a staff meeting held on March 8th, yesterday. The senator said yes. This marks the first time a U.S. Senate staffers have formed an official bargaining unit, according to Congressional Workers Union, which made history last year as the first ever Hill staff to win a union election. All members of Markey's office agreed to submit the request. Markey said in a tweet, "I applaud these workers who are exercising their right to organize, a fundamental exercise in democracy. I'm proud of their commitment not to agonize, but to organize. I recognize their effort to unionize and look forward to engaging with them." The Massachusetts representative, a longtime supporter of labor organizing, has previously endorsed unionization among the staff. In 2020, the 27 members of his re-election campaign formed a union. Congressional staffers were only granted the protected right to unionize last year when the House of Representatives passed a resolution to address a 26-year-old stalled legislative process. And when these unionized staffers decide to go on strike for better pay, when they decide to go on strike for health or vacation time, what are you going to do, Markey? What are you going to do? Federal employees should not be allowed to unionize. The military doesn't unionize. They're not allowed to unionize. Could you imagine if the military had a union? Hey, morning, Raman. Could you imagine if the military had a union? Oh, Walmart's looking at leaving New York? Oh, that hurts. Raman, this has been another, this is a repeat night where I've been up since 8 o'clock last night, unable to sleep. So my brain is in a fog, but I'm talking anyway. Okay, let's see here. Hill staffers fed up with working conditions. Okay. One Instagram account, Dear White staffers, had played a key role in revealing the grim details of congressional staff working conditions. The page, which went viral last year, is curated by a group of self-identified congressional BIPOC shit posters. Congressional staffers that recount experiences of racism, harassment, exploitation, and financial difficulty while on the job. Then quit. You don't have to be a congressional staffer. Quit. You volunteered for that job. You asked for that job. You went there and begged for that job so you could be that close to the seat of power. You wanted to be right there at that seat of power, to be there to help make decisions that run this country. You wanted to be there. If you don't like it, quit. Leave the job. But you wanted that power. You wanted that glow of saying, yeah, I got that. That's my, I put that in that bill. That was my idea to get that in that bill. Yeah, that was me. I did that. Yeah, working conditions. These people, their power, they want they even if all they could do is get the radiated glow off of the elected official. You know, I worked with AOC and I convinced AOC to make this part of that bill. Remember how AOC, she says her and her staffers, they vote. She's just the voice for her staff because everything that comes through her staff, they vote on. And whatever has the most votes amongst her staff is what she presents. So all that's just power. Power. And that's what AOC is going for. That's what these staffers are there. They're don't they're wanting to build their own political power base. You know, they're wanting to get that so that maybe they can go back and they can run for office. Or they want to be a permanent fixture from one elected official to the next because they've got all the experience. They know where the skeletons are. Yeah, hey, I know where all the dirt is. I can get things done for you. You just hire me in, make me your chief of staff or your assistant to the chief of staff, and I can help you get these things done. Let's go pound sand. Oh, I bet they don't, Duck Dog. I bet they didn't like it when you told them to go pound sand. You know, Mac Daddy, yeah, the jobs, people are hurting for jobs. Even at I go down the and yeah, this is what amazes me though. Okay, I'm going to shut up. No, I can't go. I can't jump. I can't get my mind back over on this other thing. Because that's a sore spot with me right now. Unionization among Senate staff is a big milestone for organizers, but the movement is in its nascency. Upper house employees still lack the protections that have been secured in the lower house. The CWU remains optimistic as the site reads. Senate, you're up next. I want to say this again. Congressional staffers beg for these jobs. There is an overabundance of people who want to become congressional staffers. They're not out there like McDonald's or any place else with the perpetual help wanted signs, on their doors, or hotels, or even Walmart. Perpetually, they've got help wanted signs. They're hiring all the time. The 3 local Walmarts that I go to here, all 3 of them have constantly, we need people. Come and put in your application. Where my wife works, they need people. Where I work, we need people. We're constantly hiring. You know, I don't know a business in my local area that can't that would refuse somebody come in and putting in the job application and say, no, we're not hiring. Everything from high vac companies to I mean you name it. There's not a job one in this town, a private business one that is got the we're not hiring sign out. So they're all hiring. They really are. Okay, Mac Daddy. Um, one of the problems going on, it's been going on now for the past year and a half, and it's something that's really bad. I mean, I see it now where I work. Um, Amongst younger people, and when I mean younger, I'm talking about under 35. And the closer to under 30 they get, the bigger the problem it is. Um, I'm of the if you're not 15 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late crowd. I've got a dentist appointment. I show up at least 15 minutes early. I I had an appointment to get my hair cut yesterday. I showed up 15 minutes early. And it's walking distance from my house. All right. Yeah, the doctor's appointment, I usually show up a half hour early for doctor's appointment. Going into work, I show up 25 minutes early going into work. That's just so that I can get the other person out on time and I can ask all the questions I need to ask. Excuse me. I hope you all didn't hear that. Couple of terms I've come to get familiar with is quiet quitting and working your wage, I think is the other one. Whereas the people come in and they do exactly no more, no less than what they're, they do no more, no less what they need to do to keep their job, the absolute bare minimum, and not one extra bit of effort beyond the bare minimum, just enough to keep from being fired. And we see that where I work. You know, 5 people, 5 of us all doing the same job, and 3 of them are doing the bare minimum, and the other 2 of us spend a third of our shifts correcting mistakes they make. You got that exactly right, Duck Dog. 15 minutes early is on time. On time is late, and late is unacceptable. My dad beat that into me. I mean, that was something taught to me from being a young child. If you've got to leave an hour and a half early to get there 15 minutes early, then by God, that's what you're going to do. You're going to leave early enough that you can 2 train wrecks and 4 car accidents, and you're still going to make it to work on time. So, I I don't think it's that simple, Sean. It's not. I don't think it's really that simple as no work ethic. I think it's more of it's an anti that they've been taught that if you're doing anything extra, then you're being exploited. That I mean, every job I've ever had, I've always done more than what I was expected to do. Went above and beyond as much as I physically possible could do without getting myself in trouble or in danger or in putting someone else in danger. And the reason for that was that is I wanted promotions. I wanted pay raises. I did not want to be that low man on the totem pole that did the bare minimum. And being as all of us were that way, you know, work got done and got done early. It's amazing how when people actually put in effort, things get done and get done quickly. Things get done and get done quickly, and there is no real problems. Or when problems come up and where something, because inevitably a problem comes up that puts you behind. Well, because they're so used to you being ahead that when something comes up, puts you behind, they don't look at it as if it's your fault, as if you're slow leaking or malingering anything. They know, they're looking to see if I'm not at work, literally, if I'm not at work 15 minutes prior to my shift, I've had them call me, hey, are you okay? Were you in a car wreck? Have you been pulled over by the police? Are you in the hospital? They're not calling me to ask me if I'm coming into work. They're calling to check up on me and make sure I'm in one piece. So, yeah, and that's a good thing in my mind because on the day, on the rare occasions where I have been late, doctor's appointments or some other thing, I never got in trouble for it because I wasn't that person that every day walked in the door on the dot. Whereas the people that walk in have that reputation for walking in the door on the dot and leaving on the dot, when they're late, it's like, okay, yep, here we go. Write you up. You should be you want to play this silly game of you know, we're docking your pay. How dare you clock in at say you clocked in at 7 o'clock when you actually clocked in at 7:05. So it is what it is, I guess. But there is a problem out there in the country today. especially among younger workers, where they're got this idea that doing anything beyond the bare minimum to keep your job is working too hard. So, but anyway, these staffers, this is not good news. I just don't think it is. All right. And yet another a Florida story. And this is a Florida story that makes me happy. Da 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 da. Federal judge siding with Florida blasts Biden administration on immigration. The ruling comes amid reports that the Biden administration is considering reopening previously shuttered detention centers to house migrant workers. Federal judge on Wednesday handed victory to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Attorney General Ashley Moody as he delivered a blistering rebuke to Biden's administration's immigration policies. U.S. District Judge uh, T. Kent Weatherer. Okay, and I should have looked this up and I didn't. I will look it up right now. Who appointed T. Kent Weatherer? All right, where is his Wikipedia page? Here we go. And he spent 4 years in private practice. And this is. And okay. Oh, he was appointed Governor Charlie Crist. And then, okay, he's a Trump nominee. And yeah, he is a Trump nominee. So there's that. U.S. District Judge T. Kent Weatherer ordered federal immigration authorities to revamp one key policy that he says runs counter to federal law, while at the same time he castigated the Biden administration for its handling of what he called an unstable crisis at the nation's southern border. For the most part, the court finds in favor of Florida because, as detailed below, the evidence establishes that the defendants have effectively turned the southwest border into a meaningless line in the sand, a little bit more than a speed bump for aliens flooding into the country. Here it is. Wrote Witherall, who was appointed to the bench by former President Donald Trump. Witherall added that the Biden immigration policies were akin to posting a flashing "come in, we're open" sign on the southern border. He ain't wrong. I haven't heard anything wrong yet. The unprecedented surge. Now, this is a Politico article, and Politico is not they're a fairly liberal news organization. The unprecedented surge of aliens that started arriving on the southern border almost immediately after Biden took office and has continued unabated for the past 2 years was a predictable consequence of those actions. The ruling comes amid reports that the Biden administration is considering reopening previously shuttered detention centers to house migrant families. Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how the left responds to that because, yeah, Biden shut them down. Now he's reopening them. And I fully expect this to be appealed. I expect they're going to now take this up to appeal this. It'll end up before the Supreme Court. But today's ruling affirms what we've known all along. President Biden is responsible for the border crisis, and his unlawful immigration policies make the country less safe, Attorney General Moody said in a statement. A federal judge is now ordering Biden to follow the law, and his administration should immediately begin securing the border to protect the American people. And no, they will not secure the border. He should be securing it all for a whole time now. He hasn't done it. It's not going to happen. The southern border is going to remain open, and that is all there is to it. Let's see. Jeremy Redfern, Deputy Press Secretary for DeSantis, said that Witherall has vindicated the governor's actions and ruled the Biden administration is breaking federal immigration law by failing to fulfill the duties of his office and secure the nation's border. I'm just going to say that if all positions were reversed, the Democratic Party would be bringing impeachment proceedings up against a Republican, especially if the Republican presidential initials were DJT. Would be bringing up impeachment proceedings against them for failing to enforce the laws. So Florida, among other Republican-led states such as Texas, has been sharply critical. The state's lawsuits. Okay, so we'll see what happens here. I fully expect this to be appealed. This isn't over and settled yet. It's going to continue. But where is this other one? Ah, come on. Okay. Let me. Adams. All right. Here we go. Where is it? January 17th. I just saw this article. I thought I had a link to it, and now I can't find it. 2301-26, 2301-17. Eric Adams is ending. This is January 18th. All right, let me come on, filter this in the past week. March 8th. Is this it here? Okay. New York City to create a new agency to cope with the influx of asylum seekers. New York is spending an average of $363 a day per asylum seeker in the city's shelters. And as New York scrambles to take in a growing number of migrants who have crossed the southern border, the city, New York City, can't. Oh, Oh man, I thought I had this. I guess not. Anyway, the article I was reading last night, and I can't find it now, is he is looking at ending New York sanctuary city status because he just can't afford it anymore. They can't deal with all the come they just can't deal with all the illegals. Here it is. Found it. Found the his opinion piece. Here's what it is. This is what I found, and let me see if I can find the actual news article instead of the opinion piece. Here's the actual news article. Yay! Life is good. I finally found what I read, the article I read. Get rid of this. New York City Mayor Adams aiming to resettle immigrants across the U.S. He is going to do what he cussed out Florida and Texas for doing. Adams, a Democrat, unveiled his plans in a policy briefing released the road forward blueprint to address New York's response to the asylum seeker crisis. In his preface, Adams admits the overwhelming nature of the crisis, saying the city's unable to solve the asylum seeker crisis on its own. The move comes along after a large wave of immigrants sent by bus from red states has left the city struggling to cope. Adams admitted it himself. As of March 2023, there are 79,937 people in shelter. Geez, that's barely what crosses the border in one day. Down places along, on the border itself that the actual border cities have to put up with. Our shelter system is full. We're running out of funds, staff, and space. Without additional support, we may not be able to continue supporting recent arrivals along with our own pre-existing shelter population. We may also have to cut back on city programs and services. With new asylum seekers continuing each day, we urgently call on all levels of government and all sectors of society to assist us in creating long-term and sustainable solutions. The city is also in the early stage of being able to assist asylum seekers in relocating to the preferred city of choice. Ultimately, New York isn't equipped to meet the complex needs of asylum seekers given their current rapid rate of arrival. You're not getting them at a tenth of the rate that they're getting them along Texas and the other border states are. What you're seeing is minor. You're only getting what's being sent to you on the bus. You're not getting a 1% of what comes across that border. There are cities and states across the country that want to play a role, he continued. They realize this is a national problem. However, Adams wasn't forthcoming with other details, such as which cities want to play the role. Please don't ask me which cities, because I don't need you running to cities and stopping them. I know you enjoy pitting cities against cities, so we're not giving you that information. Yeah. That's because if these cities came out and you announced, it became public which cities you were going to start sending all these illegals to, that people that live in those cities would start yelling and screaming because they've seen what's happening there. They don't want Abbott and DeSantis and other people sending them these illegals. They don't want it happening because they can't afford it. You're already belly aching. You want the federal government to step in to give you money. Come on, Adams. New York City's been a sanctuary city for a long time. It's time to put up or admit that you were wrong from the start. New York City will now start busing illegals to other areas of the country. But AOC is claiming that, well, that claiming that, and Adams doing this, he might as well just be trafficking these illegals. Oh, well, you guys just don't understand these illegals coming in and out of not in and out, just into the country. We can't afford them. I mean, they get 3,000 crossing the border in a day anymore on some days. You're complaining about having, a few thousand up there, 7,000 or 8,000. You got 79,000 people in shelter, and, you're complaining about getting a few thousand of those being illegals. Just the ones that came up on the bus. Uh, Too bad. You asked for it. You got it. Toyota. Let's see. What else did I have here? I think this is going to be my last story because my throat's starting to go. Do. Jill Biden had a CNN special. CNN's Jill Biden primetime special flops. Sheds nearly half the network's time slot average. CNN's primetime special with the First Lady Jill Biden tanked on Monday night as the network continues to struggle to attract viewers. CNN is yet to have been without permanent 9 p.m. Host for over a year since Chris Cuomo was fired. Jake Tapper and others have found it difficult to attract an audience. The First Lady struggled as much as anyone. The CNN primetime special, branded Jill Biden Abroad, featured an interview. CNN White House correspondent Arlette Saenz that shed a staggering 43% of the viewers. Jill Biden Abroad averaged 368,000 total viewers compared to 2.7 million for Hannity and 2.3 million for MSNBC's Rachel Maddow show, both of which aired in the same time slot. It was CNN's worst weekday performance at 9 p.m. since June 17, 2022, with the exception of Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Martin Luther King Day. TBS's midday repeats of Friends, Investigative Discovery's Murder Comes Home, Andy Griffith Show's Gunsmoke, reruns on TV Lands. Let's see, Hallmark's airings of Golden Girls, Lifetime's Castles, were among Monday's basic cable offerings to outdraw CNN's. Wow, the Golden Girls Andy Griffin outdrew, got a larger audience than Jill Biden. And just think of this, Barney Fife. More people tuned in to Barney Fife than tuned in to watch Jill Biden. Isn't that amazing? CNN's had a gaping hole since Cuomo was fired in various specials. More Anderson Cooper and short-lived Jim Acosta experiment failed to fill the void. CNN tapped Tapper to fill the 9th slot on a temporary basis. Yeah. So Jill Biden declares her love for Hunter Biden. I'll support him any way I can. I'm not going to make you guys listen to Jill Biden, okay? That's I'm not going to make anybody listen to Jill Biden talk. I'm not going to make anybody listen to anything coming off of CNN right now this morning either. So, but anyway, I don't know if y'all can hear my throat, but it's starting to get scratchy and rough as hell. I need to get me some honey. But I'm going to call this now as hour and 25 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not up to the usual 2 hours today. I apologize. I want to thank the guys that did show up: Duck Dog, Sean, Mac Daddy. Fury Kitten is out there, lurky, as he does some work. So I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all coming out and help and listening to me today. Y'all have a good one. Let's see, tomorrow. Wait a minute. Today's Thursday, so tomorrow is a Friday fun stream. No politics allowed on that particular 2-hour session. That's good. No politics for 2 hours. And the only way I'll get on to talk any politics is something major pops up and that really torques my jaw. But other than that, that'll be it. I want to thank once again. Y'all have a good one. Be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. Hey there, Ramen. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.